This kid's fire.
What's that? What's that, brother? What's that? What's that, brother? Brother, what's that, brother? What's that? What's that, brother? Brother, what's that? What's that, brother? What's that? What's that, brother? Brother, what's that, brother? What's that? What's that, brother? Brother,
Yes, guys, welcome back to another panel show. I'm joined by Si and Joe. A little light on numbers. A couple of lads are in London at the game, so they've not managed to make it, man. But still, we got three of us here, and we're going to be discussing today's game. Of course, City progressed through to the next round of the final. The next round, and it's the final. Let's just say it as it is. And I've got to say, man, like, was we lucky? Because I can't believe we won that game. To be honest with you, let me come to Joe straight off the rip, man. Like, I put in the title, we robbed Chelsea. Now, there are a couple of people saying, did we rob Chelsea? Did we really? I felt like, okay, maybe rob Chelsea is not the right thing, but I thought we was lucky to win, man, because you could see how tired we were. Jackson went through a couple of times. I mean, just sort of like, give us your generic sort of take on today's game before we get into sort of the details, man.
Yeah, it maybe lucky isn't the right word, but it's one of those games where if you were to look at the two chances that either side had and guess which one ends up winning, you would not say City off the back of that. I mean, I think they had in the first half alone, they had several like one-on-ones that could have got like decent counter attacks. I think Pep said at the end that they really killed us on transitions. So, you know, that happened multiple times through the game. Like there's a reason why Ortega's getting a lot of praise for his performance. It's because he had to do a lot. So I think that on the back of that, it's you would look at that and just say, well, City probably didn't deserve to win the game. And I honestly, like, yeah, fair enough. Like, I don't think you can look at it as a performance and say that they did deserve to win it based on sort of chances created. But I think when you look at them coming off the back of what they've come off the back of midweek, you know, being able to dig deep and get a win of any description after that, like, yeah, City absolutely deserve the win that they got. But I mean, yeah, if you're going to look at if you're just going to look at it based on pure chances, then you can definitely call it a robbery in that sense. But then that's just Chelsea all over. Like, they've been like this all season, and it just so happens that two of the fixtures where they happen to have, you know, been clinical are the two they've played against us in the league before this. Like, this is what Chelsea normally look like, and you know, it's nice for us to just have a game against Pochettino's Chelsea where we get the Chelsea that everyone else seems to get every other week, where they're just shit and just, you know, no, like, just completely unpredictable. But yeah, also nice to see Nicholas Jackson not score against us for a change, which is
yeah, I know.
good.
Because like you said, he did go through a couple of times as well. Ortega made some great saves, but kind of like what Pardo says here, man. Like, we dug deep, we made a huge effort, and we got the reward. Really, you know, we stuck in there, and ultimately, like, it's not our job, you know, it's Chelsea's job to score the goals when they create the chances, and they didn't. So that's, you know, they can only really blame themselves. So, they'll be very disappointed that they didn't win, but ultimately they had the chances to win the game. They didn't put it in the back of the net through some poor finishing, some poor general play from Jackson. Ortega, fantastic yet again. We go down the other end and win the football match. So, yeah, I'm so proud of the players today. Like the way that they dug in there. Listen, we know it wasn't pretty. Some performances from the players were poor, but I said before the game, I said, don't expect some scintillating football today. You ain't getting it, mate. Like, it's going to be one of those games where we have to dig in. We have to stick in there. And when we get the chance, put it away. And eventually we did manage to do that. Were we a little bit fortunate? Yeah, of course we were definitely fortunate. But I think we needed a little bit of fortune in this game, personally, just because of what happened on Wednesday night. So that's where I'm at with it, Si. I mean, don't know if you've got anything else to add before we get into some specifics.
No, I agree with both of you. I wrote on Twitter several times that for this game we needed luck, and I think we earned the win through effort more than performance, and I think that's big up to Pep and the players, showing resilience, showing mentality, and as we've seen earlier, just a few days ago against Madrid, you need luck sometimes to go through in these tournaments. So yeah, it is what it is. Final Wembley, here we come.
Let me ask you guys about Jamie Doku, man. A lot of people want to speak about Jamie Doku. Had a bit of a weird season. We spoke about him a lot. I think in the last couple of games he's played, I think he's played really, really well. I thought he played really, really well again today when he come on the pitch. I didn't think he should have come on for Grealish. I thought Grealish was playing all right. I funnily said that I thought Bernardo should have come off for Doku, which is ironic given he won it. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on Doku? And maybe give me your thoughts on how he's been this season and sort of where he is now, because it certainly seems to me, Joe, that he's on the up and he seems full of confidence as well.
I think so. It's not a secret to anybody who knows anything about my opinions on Jeremy Doku that I think he's been thoroughly, like, bang average would be polite this season for me, to be honest. I think, but that's largely not. I mean, that's largely not his fault. Like, I don't think when we signed Doku, we were expecting him to play, the amount that certainly start the amount of games that he has this season. I think he's been played on the left an awful lot due to Grealish's injuries, and I think we've probably seen, obviously, the Madrid sub appearance and today were off the left, but I think his best performance of the season was Villa a couple of weeks ago, and that was on the right with Grealish on the left, and I personally prefer that more than seeing going off the left. But I think Doku's problem before this has mainly been the fact that he doesn't do any of the, and this is a word that we've said all season, and everyone probably fucking really hates talking about it, but control. Doku is not the player for that. He's not that kind of player. He's a proper chaos merchant. And that could be great when you're bringing someone off the bench with 20, 25 minutes to go and you're just saying, we're playing against in the case of Madrid, for example, we're playing against like literally 10 men behind the ball here. We need someone to just go in there and just make something happen. Doku is your guy to come off the bench for that. Like that's what I've wanted to see him used as all season. Really, I've been happy with obviously that's not been possible because of injuries and Grealish being out and stuff like that. But in big games where in the main you need to control them, I don't want to see Doku start currently in his current level of development. I don't want to start in games at the moment, but I do want to see him come off the bench in these kind of games where it's like we need someone to make something happen. Doku, get in their penalty area, make everybody absolutely terrified to tackle you because there's a good chance that you'll move the ball away before they can get their foot in and maybe they give away a penalty or something like that. But I just want to, and I've been quite happy with today and Madrid. He's come off the bench, he's made an impact, and that's what I want to see. I want to see him running at tired defenses. I don't want to see him starting games and in a lot of cases this season, not really track back, not offer a lot of defensive cover, not offer any sort of control with the ball. And that's the bit about him that has frustrated me prior to this last month or so. Like since he's come back from the injury that kept him out a little bit, maybe was it like 3-4 weeks ago he was out for a little bit. Now that he's come back from that, I've been quite happy with the performances that he has been putting in, both starting against Aston Villa on the right, but also coming off the bench in these last two games where he's made a massive impact in those appearances, and that's kind of the way that I see him as best at the time for for the
Well,
moment anyway.
it's funny you say that actually, because someone sent in a super chat before asking, is Doku good enough to be starting games, or is he an impact player from the bench? And I said, and I don't know if you guys agree, that Brighton will be a test of that. Because for me, being genuinely serious here, I think Brighton becomes Doku's biggest game of the season. And the reason I say that is because he's probably going to start. I imagine he's going to start, given the fact that he's done really well when he's come off the bench in the last couple of games. And if he doesn't play well against Brighton, I think a lot of fans are going to start saying, he's an impact player, he's a sub, bring him on with 20 minutes to go. So I think actually now Brighton's going to become one of Doku's biggest games. He has to play well if he starts against Brighton. Otherwise, people are just going to say he's a sub player, he's a bench player, he's an impact player last 20 minutes. And he doesn't want that, of course.
Well, we're also forgetting he's 21 years old, first season in the Premier League, and last season he played 900 minutes for Rennes. So I think we should take that into account. And one of the things actually hurt Doku this season was that in the beginning of the season, he was on fire and set the bar so high, and then which is normal for a winger in the Pep system, it dropped. And because it dropped, people have been more harsh on him because they know what he can contribute to the team. And now we're seeing his stock rise again. And I think we're seeing very positive progress from him. He's losing the ball way less, and he works better in the defensive areas. And he doesn't take his man on all the time. He's getting better to understand when to do it and when not to do it.
Yeah.
And his confidence is growing, and we're seeing it. That's what right now we're seeing so good performance from him. So I feel like he will get 20, 25 GNA next season. I think he will be enormous for us. And
serious, that's a lot.
Yeah, no. I have
replacing Mahrez.
I have full belief in him, brother. I really have.
Where do you see him playing? Do you see him on the right or the left?
Both.
Both, yeah.
Whatever is needed for the team we're playing, he can do both. And Pep, he will try to analyze what can we do against this team. And so for some games, it will be playing him on the right, cross, do cross, go to the byline, put it to the front post for Haaland. I think Doku will be a big part of getting more out of Haaland next season. So I think he
hopefully.
I am very excited for him. Yeah.
I think just to sort of come off the back of something that Sai said before, I think that a large part of, as he says, is that what's kind of hurt him in terms of how people have seen his performances does come down to that start that he had really early on, where he came in and he was just he was a proper breath of fresh air after sort of having, even though they obviously won the treble, neither Mahrez or Grealish, who were two of our main wingers the season before, are that kind of electric type of winger. And seeing Doku come in and give you that meant that a lot of Manchester City fans probably, in fact, no, not probably, definitely, stupidly so, immediately just went, this guy is amazing. This guy's world class. Sit down, Grealish. You're never going to start a game again. It became a Doku versus Grealish thing. Because Doku was taking players on, and Grealish, that's not his game. When Grealish is at his absolute peak, he does do that a lot more. But Grealish is so much more aware of when to just keep hold of the ball and just to recycle it and keep the attack going. And Doku, as we saw for that first sort of 3 or 4 months when the hype around him was massive, just because he's got 99 pace and can dribble quite well. That when that was sort of at its peak, Doku was just running into fullbacks for fun, because he was, as Sai said, he was trying to sort of take everybody on and didn't really have that ability to slow it down and just go, no, actually, maybe I just need to pass it backwards here, which we can already see at the end of this season.
Definitely,
he's getting better at. We can already see that he's learning to do that a lot more. So hopefully next season, because he didn't come in for the preseason, he came in at the end of the summer. So hopefully when he's got a full pre-season under his belt as well, and he can sort of have that time to learn properly, even though he'll no doubt be at the Euros and he won't have a full pre-season anyway. But hopefully having that bit of extra time will get him more up to speed. But I think fan overhype killed him so much for how he's sort of been perceived by me. Honestly, I kind of you know, I got really annoyed seeing a lot of people just sort of immediately write off Grealish off the back of Doku coming in and doing a few, you know, getting that game against Bournemouth happened and everyone just went, oh, Doku's it, man. Doku's the future. And we all know what happened for the next 20 games of Doku's career. He didn't get a goal or an assist for that whole time. And it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, just calm the expectations. Like, he doesn't need to come in and be an immediate world-class footballer. And it's okay to say that he isn't currently that. And we're seeing the signs now that he's definitely got that potential in him. And hopefully, like I say, next season he can sort of kick on a little bit more and get that and, you know, take that next step up. And hopefully, yeah, if his goals and assist numbers start to reflect that, as Sai has said, then I don't think anybody can have any complaints about him, no matter what style of player he is.
Let me ask you a question, and for the chat as well, I want your thoughts on this. Do you think that we're heading for a change? And I think we spoke about this in the past, but on the back of Doku today and Savio, who's playing right now and doing quite well. Do you think that we're heading for a bit of a change to what we saw last season, where last year we had the Grealishes and the Mahrezes and the Bernardos? Obviously, next year we could really set up with an attacking front three of Savio, Haaland, and Doku, which is completely different to what we saw last year. Do you think Pep's, you know, what do you think Pep's doing this for? Do you think that he didn't like what he's seen last year, which is weird, given that we won the treble, or is he just trying to just change it like he always does, trying to innovate all the time? I don't know what you guys think, because that is pretty mad, isn't it? In the space of, well, obviously this year. We've gone from last year, ultimate control, to potentially having Savio and Doku as our wingers next year. I mean, that is a big change in style.
Well, I don't know if it's a change in style. I still think that Pep will be all about control. But as I said earlier, I think it's more about like evolving the toolbox. So teams will, for each season, be better at playing against us. And it's important, as you say, to evolve. And to evolve is about having more options when you play, having more strings to play on, and adding a player like Doku gives us something that we didn't have in the team before, which were why we were so excited when we bought him. And Savio, same. If Savio's staying, is still like up in the air, but he definitely is a different winger to what we have, and don't think it will be a style change, as I said, but just having more in the toolbox will allow us to be even more flexible and prepare for different opponents. And also, we will play so much more games next season. So, yeah.
I don't know, man. I feel like, first of all, it's kind of exciting because it's more back towards the Sane Sterling days, which, let's be honest, right? I know we won the treble last year. That's amazing. But, like, from a fan's point of view, like watching Sane and Sterling in the prime, like running down the wings,
that was
the
most fun.
Yeah, it's from excitement point of view, it's mega. Now, people will say, "Don't care, LB. I want to win trophies," and that's absolutely legit. And I can't disagree with you on that. But I think Sai's onto something. It's and this is what I always say: it's having options, man. Last year in the summer, before the season started, last season, right? So the treble winning season, I said in the summer we should have signed a pacey winger. Right, and I said we should have signed a pacey winger because we don't have a pacey winger. We only had Grealish, Mahrez, Bernardo, right, and obviously Foden, who sometimes play there. He's slightly different. Now, in the end, it didn't matter. Yeah, and Palmer. In the end, it didn't matter. We went on to win the treble. But I didn't say we don't sign when we won't win anything. I just said I think we need it because we don't have options. This year we have another option in Doku, but obviously we've lost Mahrez. Next season, like Sai says, we're going to have options. You want to play more control? Yeah, go Grealish. You want to go a bit more ham? Go Savio or Doku. Do you know what I mean? So it's good. And of course, you got Oscar Bob in there. So Oscar Bob can be that Bernardo Silva replacement if you want to go for that bit more control. You know, we're going to have options. That's what it's about, man.
Also, it could be more about, like, I think Pep sees that Haaland isn't firing on all cylinders and have more to his game, that we could be utilizing him better. So I think he's definitely looking at different options that will enhance our usage of Haaland for next season, if that's through Doku, Savio, Paqueta, whoever it is, Frimpong, whoever it is. I'm pretty sure that he's already now thinking about how do I get the best out of Haaland, because he is one of the best strikers in the world. So I definitely think that plays into it, because we rarely go to the byline and then cross it to the back post or do what they call that diagonal, like into the penalty area, which we used to do all the time back when we had Sane and Sterling. How many goals didn't like Sterling score from position in the penalty area where the ball just came back to him, right? That would like Haaland would feast on that. So I think that's a part of it.
I think another thing as well, like we haven't talked about the centre mids that we signed, like, and I think that says to me that Pep's maybe, because obviously Nunes and Kovacic are much more kind of transition kind of midfielders, and it feels like if you've got those kind of midfielders being brought in, plus a winger like Doku, plus potentially, I think Savio will be in Girona next season anyway. But I think if we say that he's going to be one of them, then you've got two pacey wingers there, plus Haaland up front. I think Sai's right that obviously if you're going to look at ways to best utilize Haaland, you want to be catching teams on transitions and sort of making those like quick breaks out from. Now, obviously, like Kovacic and Nunes Kovacic I think has worked, but Nunes has just not this season. So, but you can see with signing him, and obviously we wanted to sign Paqueta before that, kind of what the plan was in terms of that sort of change in midfield as well. I think he's maybe sort of there's a plan, or at least an idea that maybe control. Maybe the reason why we haven't seen much control this season is just because Pep's kind of realized, like, oh well, fuck it, like who cares about having, like, maybe control doesn't matter if you can make games not a basketball game, but if you can make it so that you're less reliant on having the ball all the time as sort of a way to combat. Because otherwise, we're just playing against 10 men behind the ball every game, aren't we? So maybe there's an idea that if you allow teams to sort of think, well, maybe we can get City on the, maybe we can go toe to toe with City a bit here, and then just have midfielders that can just like kill them going the other way. Like you've got midfielders who can just go from the edge of our box to like their penalty area quite easily. You've got wingers who can like outpace any fullback on either side. You've got Haaland, who's obviously Haaland through the middle. Like that is a potential reason to sort of change who your wingers are. It's a potential reason to bring in completely different kinds of midfielders that, Nunes doesn't look like a player who fits what we want to do at all this season, based on the fact that the change structurally hasn't actually been that big despite the signings that we've made. It feels like we're still trying to do something similar to what we did last year. We just got worse players to do it because we don't have Gundogan and Mahrez. But if I imagine if Pep was to sort of plug and play whatever new system it is that he had in mind at the start of the season when he made those signings, or wanted Paqueta to come in, I would imagine it would look a lot different to what it is now. I think it's just been sort of had to be held off because injuries, not getting Paqueta in and having to sort of settle for Nunes instead. Doku maybe not being absolutely 100% on it from the start, which is understandable because he's a 21-year-old. Like, there are signs that Pep does want to change things. Obviously, Pep's changing it every single year, which could be pretty annoying when you win a treble and Pep just changes everything anyway. And it's just like, well, come on, man. Like, could you not just try that for another few months and just like seeing how
He's a master innovator, though, isn't it? He loves to innovate. And even if he wins the treble, he's like, I'm going to change it. I'm going to get better. And that's what it's about. It's about trying to improve year on year. And even when you win the treble, he ain't just sitting there saying, oh, same again next year. No, he's like, how do we get better? How do we improve? How can I innovate something? And, Nunes, for me, I've said this since we signed him. I like the player, doesn't fit this team. However, if these signings and, Savio and maybe Doku and maybe one or two others that we might get this summer change it even more next year to complete the change of where Pep wants to take this team, maybe next year Nunes will work in this. I personally think he won't. I don't think we're going to change. I don't think we're going to change enough for him to fit this team. But let's see what happens next season. But as Karl says in the chat, a lot of people like Nunes. A lot of people think he's a good player. I don't really hear too many people saying he's not a good football player. Everyone just says the same thing. He just doesn't suit the team. And I'm sorry, right? But today, those players were knackered and he still couldn't get on. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? So it proves my point, man. I ain't hating on the guy. I like him. I say it all the time. I always start with disclaimers and shit before people start moaning. But if you can't get on against Chelsea, when the team is literally dying on the football pitch, from overexhaustion, then you've got to look at it and go, maybe he isn't actually suited to this team. Let's see next year, though. Let's see if next year the team might change a little bit more to suit him.
Yeah.
But what I don't know.
He's played a bit. I think Nunes' best performances this season have come in the cup games, like whether it's been the cup or the Champions League or whatever. Like, because those are inherently like you can't sit back with 10 men behind the ball in a cup game. They have they are more transitional on the purely the basis that someone's got to win those games. Maybe not the group stage of the Champions League necessarily, but you need points to go through, and you've got 6 games to do it. So you've got to attack more. And Nunes looks better in those games because he's got more space to operate in. I think in your average Premier League game where we're playing behind a 10 men low block, like what can Nunes do in those situations? Like it's just not his game. But then I kind of the counter argument to that is, are we ever going to be at a point where people don't do that to us? Like is that not just something that we have to accept that in I would say like 25 of the 38 games we play a season, teams will just sit back with 10 men behind the ball against us.
Oh yeah,
and
100%.
And so in that case, then what is the purpose of Nunes outside of cup games where that's going to be the case, or the big games where teams actually do attack us? Because realistically, we can change our system and our setup no matter what. But Klopp has had like the ultimate transitional team for like 4 or 5 years. Doesn't stop teams from just setting 10 men in their box and just like saying, right.
Ultimately, you can set up your team however you want, but if the other team sits on the edge of the box, there ain't nothing you can do about it.
We can't make teams give us transitions just because we sign transition players. It doesn't make sense. So I mean, yeah, I'd if Nunes is going to be a guy who plays cup games and is kind of like a Champions League specialist and stuff like that, I'm sure that's not what Nunes wants for his career by any means. But if that's like
apparently he's proper buzzing.
I don't blame him. Like he's gone from Sporting, who were winning things and up there Champions League stuff like that, to Wolves, who super Jorge Mendes just doing super Jorge Mendes things. And now he's at Manchester City. Like, is it? Of course, he's gonna be buzzing. Like, it's.
Yeah, but I thought he would have been a bit like, "Oh, I'm not playing." Like,
maybe.
Apparently, he's not arsed. Apparently, he's like,
maybe in time. Give it time. Yeah.
Give it another year of this. I mean, fucking Calvin Phillips was buzzing at the end of last summer, wasn't he? And he'd probably kicked the ball in like 5.
It's an interesting topic, the Nunes one. Obviously, we needed a body in there because we was light. And they obviously saw that as a potential. Or maybe they thought they were getting him at a decent price, 50 mil, because they had FFP problems. It will be interesting to see. I don't think we will have both Kovacic and Nunes at Manchester City next season. Let me just put that out there anyway. Let me come to some of these super chats and we'll continue the conversation. We'll bring it back to today and some of the fixtures coming up. Big up to CB says, I want an investigation on Grealish blocked shots, says CB with the super. I did say today on the watch song, I said, imagine if you could bet on blocked shots. You'd be a millionaire, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Big up to Tinsay says it's not complicated. If we get rid of our bias and status doesn't matter, it should be Alvarez, Doku, Silva, Foden, Bob, Rico, Rodri, Ake, Diaz, Akanji. Kanji, Diaz, Ake.
I can get behind about 6 of that 11. The rest of it,
Gvardiol. Not Gvardiol should definitely be in there, but based off of form, 100% Gvardiol should be in there.
No Stones. Nah, come on, man. I can't have no John Stones in an 11.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about that one, bro. To be honest with you, I think you have to hold L on that one, lad. Yeah. Okay. So, was either of you guys surprised? My chat was popping off before the game. That Rodri was in the team. Was either of you surprised to see him?
No, I wasn't.
You weren't surprised.
No, I did like my expected lineup before the game, and it was almost the exact same as what Pep put out. So I wasn't really surprised. I was pretty confident he would go strong, which is why I tried to turn the chat on you the other day with Nubbins, you two bozos, getting all wrong. No, wasn't surprised. Like we need Rodri. Now we have 7 games left in the season, and he's going to start every single one of them, unless for some kind of miracle we win the Premier League before the last game of the season. He might get a rest, but else he will play every single minute of every single game.
Yeah, well, I was looking at the fixtures, right? So because everyone's like worried about Rodri, and rightly so, by the way, rightly so. So these are the fixtures coming up. So he's got 4 days off now, and I'd be absolutely shocked if these players didn't have like a 2-day rest period now. And bring them back on Tuesday. So he's going to get 2 days like full rest, and then back in training Tuesday, Wednesday. Then obviously it's quick back to back. Really against Brighton, we really need to try and get 2-0 up by like the 60th, 70th minute, so you can maybe take him off. Then it's a quick turnaround to Forest. But after that, it's not too bad. You know, you've got a full week off after Forest to Wolves. Yeah. You got like pretty much a full week off there to Fulham. Then it's the last. Then it's the last 2 days, so it's not even that bad. Basically, just getting through these next 2 games, and he should be.
I know nobody wants to hear this, or maybe they're fine with it now. But I know they definitely didn't want to on Wednesday. But us getting knocked out of the Champions League is like a bit of a blessing in disguise, isn't it? Really, for the Premier League. Like if we'd have had to play midweek games, if we had 2 more midweeks to slot into this fixture schedule somehow, and and also had to factor in a potential final at the end of that, plus the FA Cup final coming up. Like, mate, we'd be absolutely. I mean, maybe we'd have just binned off today if we'd have got through the Champions League. I don't know. I presume. My guess is that probably would have been the case. But I just think if Rodri had to play those, we'd be looking at having to. We would have to rotate him at some point in those 6 games, and from that point, the league would kind of just like fall off because like you're not playing Luton every single week. Like if Rodri's not playing, we're probably done for. So. In terms of retaining the Premier League, and personally, that for me, numero uno. Like, I don't give a fuck about the Champions League or the FA Cup. Like, the Premier League is the one that I want. Us not being in the Champions League is the best thing for that ability to retain that. So, give me that. But let's be honest, Rodri's going to play every single game between now and the end of the season. Like, the guy's not getting a rest. Like, the guy's going to get he's going to do every game with us. Spain are probably going to get to like the quarterfinals of the Euros, and he's going to play all 4 or 5 of those games as well. He's going to have 2 weeks off, and then he's going to be back on fucking pre-season with us, and he's going to be playing every single game for us the next. Unless we actually sign someone who could genuinely play, like rotate in with him. Like
who would be your picks for the Rodri replacement / take some pressure off Rodri next season?
Kimmich. It's got to be Kimmich. Like he's played with Pep before, so understands the system to some base level degree, so that he can, he isn't just like throwing in a Calvin Phillips who's never gonna, who's never done it before. He's at the age where he's probably not going to be looking at it thinking, actually, no, is Kimmich only like 29 years old? How old's Kimmich?
29. He will be 29 this year.
Yeah, he's 29, but he has had some like injury problems, hasn't he, in his career? So it's not like playing every single game is going to be like either. I think he can also rotate in at right back as well, so he can get some games in, even if he's not playing centre mid. Like
he's playing right back right now for Bayern.
There you go. So I think that there's plenty to. This means that you aren't also reliant on Stones being fit to have someone who's truly world class at the sort of inverted thing as well. Kimmich for me solves a lot of problems. One of which is Kyle Walker, but we can come on to Kyle Walker later on because
Kimmich's injury record's not actually that bad, right?
No.
If you actually look at it, like
he's
that's actually.
Yeah, and look at all these. They're all ill, bro. Ill. Yeah. Corona, quarantine, flu again, ill, flu.
He needs some vitamins, that guy.
Yeah, innit? He needs some multivitamins.
Enough. Yeah.
It's actually not that bad, and like Kimmich would give us a player that can play in so many different positions. You know what I mean? Right, like say right back, midfield. He could cover for Rodri when he needs a rest or suspended or injury. He could potentially play that Gundogan role as well because his G&A is quite impressive.
He's really good. Yeah.
Didn't think he was as good as I saw, but he for me, if he's available, that is just like the most obvious transfer of all time that we need.
And it sounds like he is available. Like I don't know if it's that he's fallen out with Tuchel in general, or if he's just like fallen out with like the higher ups at Bayern as well, and just isn't happy at the club full stop. But it sounds like he very much is not keen for being at Bayern Munich next season.
I think a lot of it depend on which coach they will get in. So Tuchel's leaving, and that's prompted him to stay. But he has asked about which manager will come in, and then they said Nagelsmann in the beginning, and he doesn't like Nagelsmann as well, and that's not now happening. So it depends very much on how or who they're getting in. But But getting him to City would, I'm just going to throw this out there, but getting Kimmich would allow us in August to give Rodri a full rest, like just let him go on vacation, like just like do what we always do and just keep it ticking, be near the top, like we don't have to excel. Give him a month extra rest.
I remember when we first got Pep, and like Kimmich was like my dream signing when Pep first turned up, because I remember he was just coming off the back of like that breakthrough year for Kimmich, wasn't it? And I was just thinking, like when he left Bayern and came to us, and I was just thinking, oh, could you imagine if he joined us and like he was like, you had him and Gundogan in the middle. That was like my absolute dream. That was what, like 7 years ago. I just really, and you know, the fact that we might actually get him now, or that it's not impossible now. I just really like the idea of that. But whether that happens or not, I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of shouts of Bruno G, and I don't really fancy paying 100 mil for someone who's be unhappy if they're not playing every single game. Like, I think realistically, you can only go for someone like Kimmich, who's versatile enough to get games elsewhere if he's not going to be playing every game because of Rodri. But also, oh yes, please, yeah, that is the dream. Like, please, Walker, go to Bayern Munich this summer. Yeah, so I think Kimmich is like as we've said, he kind of solves two issues in terms of right back cover and centre mid cover. Because of that, he's got the versatility to play both positions and get the game time that maybe a lot of other players would be unhappy with if they had to sort of bench warm for Rodri a lot. And also I can't really think of anyone else who isn't going to cost you, who's A, good enough, or B, not going to cost you like 80 million plus.
Yeah, that's the thing with Bruno. Like, listen, if we got Bruno, obviously I'm not going to be sitting there saying, oh, dead signing, like it's not going to work. You know what I mean? Like, I'd be pretty happy with Bruno, but it doesn't really make sense. Kimmich is half the price, yeah, and can play in more positions than Bruno. So why you know, it just doesn't make much sense really to go for Bruno. Unless obviously Kimmich isn't available, then you might have to go and spend 100 million quid on one of these players. But for me, I just look at Kimmich and just go, it just looks like a straight up deal. And you know what's funny actually? You mentioned Walker, but of course Walker was going to go to Bayern Munich in the summer and didn't end up going because Pep obviously got him to stay. And I just think to myself, I wonder if Bayern might come back in for Walker, and if they go for Walker, maybe we get Kimmich, they get Walker, do a deal like that. Might sweeten the deal. Obviously, it's not going to be done like a proper swap deal, but it might happen. Well, Frimpong's an option as well. You know, buyout clause, 35 million, relatively low cash. But that's obviously the right back. The Kimmich. The reason I like Kimmich is it solves a lot of problems.
Yeah,
it solves the right back issue. Yeah, it solves the midfield issue. And he's experienced. He ain't going to need time, like Joe said before. He's worked with Pep before, so he should get the hang of it pretty quickly. And you mentioned the manager. You've also got don't just think about, oh well, the new manager. You might not like the new manager at Bayern. He might just want to change. I mean, he's been in Germany his whole life. Yeah. He's been in Bayern Munich for 10 years now. He's won everything that he could possibly win with Bayern Munich. So it might not be a case where he's looking to see the new managers. He might be looking at this, sitting down with his family and saying, well, if I'm going to make a move to a top club, this is the summer. I mean, I've got this is going to be his last big contract. It's the last real chance for him to make a move, because once you start getting over 30, I mean, it can still happen, but you know, the clubs are more like we need to sign players who've got some years. So, you know, I think it's a very good chance that we could get Kimmich, and if we get him, I just think it just solves that Gundogan issue that we made for ourselves last season. It just solves it overnight. DM, right back, you're playing the Gundogan role. Mint. I love it. Go and get it done. And it's pretty cheap, because I reckon, how much you reckon we get for him? 55 mil? 60 mil?
He's got a year left. He's got a year left on his deal at this point.
He's got a year left on his deal, and he's 29.
I think 40, 50 mil. And I don't think I'd have any issues with that personally.
No, I'd go up to 55, me.
Yeah. Even then, yeah, fine. Like if you're going to pay that for Kimmich, compared to that we paid that for Doku, for example, who was 20 and who was 20 at the time and hadn't really played much senior football. Yeah, I'll absolutely pay that for someone with the experience that Kimmich has got. There's also the fact as well for Kimmich that coming back to management to work with Pep again, who gave him like the breakout that he had at
I didn't think of that.
Bayern.
Yeah.
Like, maybe if Pep comes calling and says, right, I can see that you're not happy at Bayern. Do you want to come and play for our recent treble winning potential 4 in a row Premier League side? And they just go, yeah, cool. Like, let's go and win a Premier League in England. Like, sweet.
Also put in contrast to 100 million for Bruno, right? I mean, 50 for Kimmich would be a steal compared to that.
Yeah. And Bruno would have to play. I'm sorry, Bruno would have to play 80 to 90% of the games in the league. Like if you're signing a player for that kind of money, you are not putting him on the bench so Rodri can play. Like, and that's and maybe with some other outgoings in midfield, like Bernardo, for example, maybe that midfield spot, and obviously with Kev getting a little bit older as well, maybe that midfield spot opens up a little bit. But yeah, I just don't. I'd rather not. If there's places I would much rather spend 100 mil than centre mid to replace, to give Rodri a rest.
Yeah, no, 100%. Guys, keep your comments coming in. I'm going to come to some of these super chats. LB says 4P is the most important thing. Obviously never been done in this country. Apparently, we're getting a gold trophy if we do it. Which is, I still think that's mad that we didn't get one for the 100 points, but they're giving it us for 4P.
That is true, actually. Yeah, weird, Did Arsenal got one for the Invincibles, didn't they?
They got one for the Invincibles.
Why does the 100 points not get you a golden trophy? That is a bit weird now you mention it. I've never even thought about that before.
Yeah. I don't get it. I personally think that 100 points is more impressive than the 4P.
Yeah.
To get 100 points, bro.
Yeah.
That's
no one's
ridiculous.
ever the fact that I think, what was it? Liverpool came close when they got 99,
didn't they? Didn't 99 when we were the only team to beat them that season, the COVID season. It was 99.
Was it Watford?
It was 99. I think it was 99.
Did Watford beat them or draw with them? I remember Ismail Assar.
We were the only team to beat them.
They only lost to us. Yeah. We beat them 4-1.
Yeah, they must have drew with Watford then. Yeah. That was the game that meant that they couldn't get 100 points, which was quite funny given that Watford got relegated that season. But
interesting. He also said Bruno G can play the 6 and an 8. He'd be my pick. Listen, he could do it 100%. But the thing that the reason I'd go for Kimmich is because Kimmich can do both of those things that you're talking about, but can also play right back, and he's half the price. And he's worked with Pep before. So it's like, the Kimmich one for me, just makes more sense. But like I say, if we do get Bruno, I'll be chilling, man. I'll be pretty chilling. Apparently Pep's gone on a rampage after the game, gone sick of some.
He has, Did you see it when it actually happened on BBC?
Nah.
So he came for the actual. So he came. Do you know when they do the interviews where they actually come over like to the panel and sort of like a pitch side get given a microphone and just sort of chat rather than just. Match. They asked him what he thought of the game, and basically he spent 2 minutes just giving the FA abuse for scheduling the game when they did. Because obviously Coventry and United
rightly so
didn't play midweek, so there was absolutely no reason for them to play tomorrow while we had to play today. So he kind of went in on how it gives absolutely, they're giving absolutely no consideration to the players, and it's all about player safety and the health of the players and stuff like that for them to not have to play 100, because it was always a possibility that we could play 120 minutes on the Wednesday, and to then sort of schedule our game for the Saturday instead of the Sunday.
Especially just to why they've done that, because it does seem a bit weird.
It's TV in it, so I don't know why TV would prioritize City. Like I don't. There's probably something to do with viewing figures and stuff like that. Maybe the time of day that it is on a Saturday night is more beneficial for a global market than the Sunday.
Yeah.
What time's the Sunday kickoff? Is it?
Don't know.
Let's have a look here. Scores and fixtures. Sunday. So it's at 3:30 tomorrow. So maybe this game today, City v Chelsea, it's at a more. It's at 5:30 is a bit more of a sort of worldwide friendly.
You're telling me that City get more numbers than Manchester United? Is that what you're saying? You can't say that. Gary Neville will fucking have a fit if you say that. No, it's not possible. It's not possible. That guys.
It isn't possible. It is, as Jamie Carragher says, it is mental. So yeah, I think it's that's basically what he went in on at first, and yeah, it was just kind of a bit of an idea of why is this happening, basically, in the fact that he basically just like that pretty much dominated his post match talk. But he did mention as well the players that, because I know that we've talked about the selection and how it was most of the team that played on Wednesday. Apparently that was his decision, and like and not the so when we all saw that team, I think a lot of us kind of assumed that it was the players wanting to prove a point, and like players just saying no, let us play again, let us sort of like right the wrongs of Wednesday or whatever. But apparently it was his decision, because he referenced a few years ago when, it might have been 2 years ago actually, when we won we lost in the semi-final against, we had some kind of Champions League game anyway, and then we had the FA Cup semi-final against Liverpool, I think it was, and he did like a really heavy rotation for that game, and we got absolutely battered in the first half, and it was game over. I think they beat us. It was 3-1. They beat us in the end, wasn't it? With Grealish getting like the
3-2.
Or 3-2. Yeah, it was.
Stefan did those two mistakes and goal.
Yeah,
oh God, yeah.
In the end, we probably should have equalised.
Yeah, we should. Yeah.
But he said that basically he thought back to that and kind of learned from it and just went, right, well, the wholesale changes is not the way to go if you want to actually then win the FA Cup game. So he kept it. He basically kept it largely the same. He admitted most of the team that he put out there probably wasn't actually fit to play a full 90 minutes, but he felt that it was a better option than just making 8 or 9 changes and having like a proper disjointed performance. So
also, can we talk about him playing both Kevin and Foden midfield today? That hasn't been spoken about today enough. No, it was liberating to see. For like, this was a big game. There have been a lot of question marks about if they can play together, and Pep said early in the season that they can, but in specific games. And this was a big game, like playing them in the midfield together for this game especially was a big choice. I wasn't expecting that at all.
I was expecting them both to play. All I would say is I don't think Foden did too much today, but today today was not the game to judge anybody or anything.
No.
You know what I mean? That's just a fact. So no, I don't want to hear anyone saying the Foden KDB thing didn't work. I don't want to hear anyone saying it did work, because ultimately, this is not the game to judge something like that on, because this was a unique game, in which our team was crap, like tired, you know what I mean, and therefore crap. Joe said there that Pep even said some of these players shouldn't have even been playing, not fully fit. Like, so I ain't judging anything myself. All I would say is I don't think it's shockingly bad, or like really bad or bad at all, really, the Kevin De Bruyne Foden thing, which, given the fact that they were both knackered, is probably a good thing, because then you would think if you play a game where they're both fresh, that it could really tick. And I would also say something, it's not just going to work straight away. Like, they need to form like an understanding. Like, there was a moment today in that second half, where Kevin had the ball and he played it to Foden, and Foden should have played it back to Kev, but then Foden just smacked it up to Alvarez. And if you would have played it back to Kev, Foden could have turned it. We could have been in, and Pep went absolutely mental. I don't know if you remember it. Pep was, and he was like, "You him to play." Pep was saying you should have played with Kevin and got past it and broke through the play. Well, it's going to take time. You don't just start from day one and go, "Oh, it's mint." Like, it's not going to happen. So, it's good that he tried it. And we'll see if it tries it now for the rest of the season. But we'll see, man. But it's good. It's good. Foden's playing midfield. He was quiet today, but again, I'm not going to really cook anyone today, because they're all knackered. You know what I mean? Like, we can even Walker. I thought Walker was poor again today, but I'm not going to cook him too hard, because he just played 100 and. You go cook him then.
Mate, the guy. Don't get me wrong. That midfield, that recovery at the end to outpace Mudryk, great. Like, that is the one thing.
He did it to Jackson as well.
Yeah, that is the one thing that Kyle Walker remains elite at. Like, that is the one thing where he's absolutely unrivaled. But my God, like, everything else about his game is just like such a, like, it's dropped off. Like, the level has dropped off too much this season. And I could understand if this was like the final season of, if he hadn't signed a new deal in the summer and this was like the final year of his time at City, I'd still be annoyed by it, but I'd be like, right, I can understand why maybe he's a bit mentally checked out a little bit. He's switched off. Just that 5 or 10% that's dropped his game a little bit. But I feel like
you think he's going this summer?
No. Realistically, no, I don't. I'd love him to, but I just don't. I think he signed a new deal last year for three years, which at his age is absolutely insane. Like, I don't understand why they've done that at all.
Compensated because of the Gundogan situation there, by the way.
Correct. Yeah, 100%. He's a leader.
Just speak the truth. That's what happened there.
Whether we like it, whether I like it or not, because of the absolute disgrace of a human being he is off the football pitch, he is the leader in the dressing room, and he is, for some reason, despite everything that's happened off the pitch and the amount of bad press he's brought for the club by extension of himself, he is the club captain. And there's no way that you're just like giving that guy a 3-year deal and then selling him the following summer. Like, there's just no chance. And I think he's at least going to be here next season. And then unless I'd like to think maybe if Bayern came in with a bid that was somewhat similar to last year, we might entertain it this time round, especially if Walker's a bit keen on going.
You know what's annoying for me about Walker? Yeah, it's like it's the simple things that he's getting wrong.
Yeah,
it's not like he's doing like getting the fundamental, like not the fundamental. He's getting the fundamentals wrong. It's not like he's doing like the hard stuff. The hard stuff, I feel like he's doing all right. Like, he's still managed to sprint back and handle business against Vinicius Junior. He done it today against Mudryk. He done it against Jackson, and he done it against Rashford in the derby. And he clearly saves goals. Like, he clearly saves us goals. That's not the issue. The issue is like just some simple stuff. Like, today he had the ball. I'm like, oh, this is the FA Cup semi-final against Chelsea. And like, he just dilly-dallied on it. I think someone come in and tackled him, and he's putting his hand up saying he wanted a free kick. And it's just like, just pass the ball. If you think back, actually, by the way, this has happened early in the season. Think back to the Sheffield United game away. Just, you got 5 minutes left or whatever. We're winning 1-0, 5 minutes left. The guy's doing back heels in his own half, in his own penalty area. What you doing?
He is so fortunate that he got an assist in that game, because otherwise, people would be talking about that performance, like that mistake, a lot more than they have.
He just needs to calm down, like and no, not actually, maybe not calm down, maybe just sort of like get his head dialed back in, because for me, he's still doing the good stuff, like he's still sprinting back, but he just seems to not be locked in at the moment.
I think
whether or not he can he get to that position where he redials in, or is his head gone and this is where he is? Because when Walker's on it, he's the best right back in the world, in my opinion. When he's on it, because from what he gives you from a defensive point of view, no other fullback in world football can do that. Yeah, I know Reece James is very good at defending. So's Wan-Bissaka, but what Walker has as a collective is insane. But he's just dipped, and it's whether or not he can get back up to that level. Now, he's the captain of this team. Yeah, I mean, so he could have he's already led the team to 1 trophy. Hopefully, he'll lead us to 2 more trophies. Whether we get into the summer and he goes, right, I'm gonna fucking redial in. I mean, maybe I did something wrong in preseason. He had all the family shit going on as well. That's hopefully in the past and in the summer. Maybe he can redial in, but maybe he'll look at it and go, you know what? If we win the Prem, he wins the FA Cup. He's won 4 trophies this year. Maybe it's time for him to move. Maybe the club will accept it. I don't know, but he's got to refine that form and that alertness, which seems to have lacked him a little bit this year.
I think Joe was a bit harsh on Walker. I think he's been starting slow in the past few games, and that's something he has to work on. Like, for the Rodri goal against Real Madrid, he switched off. Today in the beginning of the game, he switched off, but throughout the game he gets better and better. And if we don't have him for this game, like, I think we lose, because there was a few times where Jackson was through a goal and Walker comes back and saves us. He did it against Real Madrid as well. I think we all know that he's a specialist now. He shouldn't be playing every game, but there's certain games where he's like pivotal. And if he can get on board with not playing every game, which appeared to be an issue like a few seasons back, the same with Cancelo in that season, the treble season actually, and like be a bit part-time player, and then just be this big influence in the dressing room, because as Joe said, for some reason all these young players go to him. Like he's a big character in the dressing room and still a specialist. So I still think he has a big part to play for City, but in a lesser extent, if that makes sense. Like for specific games, he can be like the difference maker.
Yeah, no, and I agree to a certain point, Si, and maybe he has played a little bit too much, and maybe going forward next season, he can maybe reduce minutes and maybe pick and choose the minutes. But he's still for me cost us a goal against Real Madrid. In that second leg because he played the guy on the side and then completely lost Rodrigo. So for me, it's quite simple. I just think he needs to redial in. I think he's lost focus a little bit, which is maybe caused by outside influence with his family, which there'll be lack of sympathy, I'm sure, from a lot of people on that. But yeah, listen, it's interesting. If a bid comes in, say a bid comes in 15 million, you reckon not whether you want them to? Do you reckon City accept that 15 mil?
No,
not this summer.
Because you're not going to get a lot of money for him now. He's 33. He'd be 34 in the summer.
I think unless Walker goes, unless this bid comes in and Walker goes to Pep and says, please accept it, I don't think it happens. I think they keep him. I think there's just City don't need 15 mil and Walker's a big deal. And I agree with Si. I think it more comes down to the amount of football that he's played this season. Like, I think I don't know what it is that they discussed at dinner last summer, but that has in many ways been a very damaging dinner that he had in summer. Because I think that if he was just playing these specialist games like against Madrid, against say if we're going against PSG or whatever, against Mudryk, if he was playing these kind of games where if the opposition has a pacey winger, Walker plays and sort of completely nullifies that threat. Cool, but because Walker is that player, if he switches off like we're saying that he does or has in these last couple of games, if he switches off, he is the one defense against those players. So if he switches off, we're fucked because there is nobody else to sort of cover that. I actually personally prefer the 4 centre-back system. Well, if you want to call Gvardiol not a centre-back, then yeah, fair enough. But I prefer Gvardiol, Diaz, Stones, Akanji. That is my... Or Gvardiol or Ake. We've seen it like twice, I think. Not very often because of like fitness and stuff like that. But I think we've only seen it a couple of times, if more than once. And that's what I preferred that system over in your day-to-day like run-of-the-mill Premier League game. I prefer that to a system that has Kyle Walker in it. And for some reason, we just completely changed the way that we use our fullbacks because we have Kyle Walker. We had him and Gvardiol. Like Gvardiol, fair enough, because he's at least got some attacking threat. But we had Walker on the other side, just like camped up next to the opposition penalty area, effectively being a winger. It's like, why are we doing that? Why are we doing that with Kyle Walker? The guy's 33. Like he's got recovery pace, cool, but he's done nothing to show.
Well, that's why I think with Walker this year, it's been amplified by the fact that it's not all his fault.
Yeah, Pep's playing him too much
at all. Pep's got a lot to say for this because he's been playing. Not one City fan out here thinks Kyle Walker's a good right winger. Not one. Yeah, but Pep's a lot of the time this season he's played him in those higher. Now, to be fair, the second half of the season we've not seen it hardly ever. Yeah. So he has clearly So you clearly know that Pep knows he may be making mistakes. We've not seen it in the second half of the season. But the first half of the season, he played him in the wrong position. Sorry, what?
But that's also because of Stones. So Walker played up there when we didn't have Stones in the team. So it was like Pep tried to do something else than inverting from centre back into midfield. So he pushed up both fullbacks to wingers. And then when Stones came back in the team, he dropped Walker and Guardiola Ake again. So I think that was more about like adapting to the situation of injuries more than actually preferring that. So
maybe I personally think there are other options, but you might be right. Before we wrap up, a question here from Steve. We sort of touched on some of the transfer stuff before. So here's a question: if a team that wins a treble drops off, then should some of the winners be refreshed next season? So should you get rid of some and bring it in? I personally believe that you have to refresh your team every year. I think sometimes you have to make hard decisions, and you have to make decisions which you might not like initially, but I think you have to do that. I think last year we got rid of Sterling, we got rid of Jesus, and we got rid of Zinchenko. We got rid of 3 players that have played a lot of minutes for Manchester City. Fernandinho as well. And we went on and won the treble. Yeah. Now, we won the league before that. Yeah. But we then went on and won the treble. So imagine if I would have said after we won the league 2 years ago, we need to sell 4 or 5 players here and get some fresh players in. Everyone would have been like, what are you on about? We just won the league. You know what I mean? No. I have a fundamental opinion that you must always keep refreshing, keep buying hungry players. Otherwise, you go stale. Look at 2012. We won the league. That was one of our worst transfer windows. Yeah, it was shocking. After we won the league that first time, and that we didn't handle the second year under Mancini. He ended up getting fired, of course. Yeah. And we didn't defend it. You have to make hard decisions. You have to sometimes sell a player that maybe you don't want to sell. You know what I mean, just to get some fresh blood in there. Like, so for me, buying players like Paqueta is great. The guy's not won much in his career. He's going to come in. He's going to be hungry for trophies. Yeah. Bruno, the same. Kimmich will be different. Kimmich will probably relish the opportunity to play under Pep again, like Joe said. But you have to make those decisions for me. Now, the hard part is, and I know you're going to say, is what players do you let leave? That's where it becomes tough because no one wants to see any of these players leave. You know, maybe a couple of people want to see Walker leave, but, you know, a lot of people don't want to see these players leave. You know what I mean? Defensively. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we don't want to speak about Gomez. Like, we know these type of players are leaving, but like, you want to see a Kanji leave? You want to see Ake leave? Diaz, Stones? No, none of those players we want to see leave. Same with the midfielders. You know what I mean? You want to see Rodri leave, Kevin De Bruyne, Foden? Obviously not. It's the same with the attackers as well. But I do feel that, like, I've said this for a while, expect the unexpected. Someone this summer will leave who you don't expect. But I know for a fact they will.
In the summer, like we actually did what you just said there. We won the treble, and then we let five like main players go. Laporte, Cancelo out again alone. Gundo, Mahrez, Palmer. That's a refresh. That's refreshing the team.
Yeah, no, but we did it wrong.
Yeah, we did it wrong, but also because we didn't get the right players in. Which
but we also let the wrong players leave.
True, yeah, but that's the expect the unexpected thing, as you just said there, right? No one here expected Gundo to leave. Mahrez was a bit of a surprise as well, but that can happen. They were aging as well, and if we had gotten either Bellingham, Rice, Paqueta in midfield, I think we would have been seeing this in a totally different light. And I think this summer as well, Bernardo will definitely leave. I'm pretty sure about that. Calvin Phillips will probably leave. Who else were part of the treble team?
Did you say Bernardo?
Bernardo, Calvin, and who else will probably leave?
I genuinely think, and I'm not just saying this, but I think of the ones who are left, like Walker's probably the one who's like closest to having a potential.
Maybe even Kevin. I know we don't want.
It wouldn't surprise me if Kevin.
Maybe even Kevin, right? So then we're up to 2 to 4 very big, like main players for our team, potentially leaving, and we have to replace them. And it's not just about replacing like qualities; it's also about replacing experience, leadership, chemistry, all these stuff. So yeah, I think Pep is the master of refreshing a team.
Do we need to replace everyone though? Because
we need more players.
Are we not like are we not a player down on last season, like in terms of like pure squad numbers?
Two, so, like, two because of Karl Phillips.
Yeah, of course. So so we're already in a position where like signing 2 players to refresh it would only have us on the same number of players that we had in the treble winning season. So we can still bring in the players to refresh us without having to let multiple people leave. If we have Bernardo and Calvin and Phillips both go in, then that's 4. That's 3-4 players that you bring in. Like that is a decent squad refresh. And obviously you saw the fact, Doku and Gvardiol, who else? Kovacic and Nunes are still relatively new as well. So like I think 3 or 4 players over the summer, and 3 or 4. Like we're not talking. I'm at this point. I'm not talking like Calvin Phillips and Doku and like players like that. I want Kimmich, Paqueta, and a serious right back. Like I
type players.
Yeah. I like that.
I want players who if they started in the first game of the season, I'd be like sick. Like let's go. Like I
throw Musiala in that. Throw it in.
Let's go mad. Like let's have anyone. But I think
you know what I kind of like to do with the right back situation. I'd kind of like us to keep Walker and give Jan Kuto a go.
Oh, risky that though.
What do you mean?
Is he not? Is Kuto not like quite? And I know this is a problem. Like we've got Rico Lewis. Just play Rico Lewis at right back. Like
No.
the
But
guy
Rico
isn't-
Lewis can't do what Jan Kuto can do down the wing.
I
Rico
know what
Lewis
you
is
mean, LB.
inverted. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm talking about like first half of the season we've seen Walker bomb down
Options.
the wing.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah.
Jan Kuto do that?
If you're going to commit to that, but then also if you're going to do that, why risk Jan Kuto when someone just said, "Hey, like Frimpong here, 35 mil." Like,
Well, you say risk Jan Kuto. Jan Kuto's playing for a team that's currently in the Champions League spots in La Liga, and he's tearing it up. And the Brazilians, by the way, yeah, because I follow a couple of guys on social media who cover South American football. They say the Brazilians are looking at Jan Kuto and saying he's absolutely mega. Like he's going to be the next Brazilian right back for the next 10 years, they reckon. Like they're buzzing over him. And if you keep Walker, then you can still maybe in a game, if you want a bit more defensive protection, you play Walker. Like you said before, Joe,
I like it.
25 games a season in the Premier League. We play against low blocks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I wouldn't hate it.
You could have your back three of your Gvardiol, Stones, and Akanji or whatever. Play or whatever you want. Yeah. Play Jan Kuto in the right back. Then when you've got the ball, Jan Kuto pushes forward into a right wing position. You got your back three, and your right winger will then invert into a midfielder. You've got your extra midfielder.
Yeah, I like it.
And he's our playing cost a penny. So the accountants will all love that as well.
Yeah. Mate. Yeah, potentially. Like I wouldn't hate it. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Why not? Like if
try it out. It's kind of risk free. I would like Frimpong. I must say, like he has a bit of more physical and pacey. And
I feel like that's a large reason why. I feel like that's a large reason why Lewis isn't getting many games at right back because of the physicality thing. So I think if Kuto's also quite small and not very physical, then I doubt that's going to get him games in the Premier League.
But Jan Kuto wouldn't be in the middle of the pitch. He'd be on the right wing, just whipping balls. And I feel like physicality when you're playing on the wing maybe is less important than when you're getting stuck.
If he's going to be, if he's just going to be a pure winger, then fine. But if he's going to do what Walker and Gvardiol are expected to do, he has to do a lot of defending still.
I'm not expecting him to do that. No, and I wouldn't play him in like. I'm talking about like giving him a go, trying him out in some of these low block situations when we play teams at home and they sit on the edge of the penalty area. And just see if it works. And like I say, he's free. And you still got Rico. You know what I mean? So if it doesn't work, you've still got Rico as a backup. You've still got Walker. And if it works, mint. You know what I mean? I just saved the football club 35 million quid. If it doesn't work, you still got two other players.
I would love it. Either Kuto or Frimpong, doesn't matter. But I do think we need some options on either left side or the right side as our fullbacks for more offensive options. And either way, if we play Kuto and we push him up the field, then we play a back three with Gvardiol, Diaz, Akanji, or Stones, whatever. Like we will have so many options: who to invert, who to push up, depending on the game. I definitely think we should get either a left back with offensive capabilities or right back with offensive capabilities.
It's a weird one because I'm kind of on fullbacks in general. I think Pep just won me round to the idea of like I don't even care about fullbacks anymore. I love what Gvardiol does on the left. I love what Ake does on I love what Akanji does on the right. I love what Stones does on the right when he plays out there. Like I'm absolutely honestly, if we don't sign a right back, I know that I said that as one of the players that I would get, but I'm talking in a world where Kyle Walker's out because I think we still need to have a player like that if Kyle Walker does go. But if Kyle Walker stays and we just don't sign a true right back, then cool. Like I'm all for the no fullbacks Pep life that we've got because I think it works so well. Like that treble run last year was built on no fullbacks. It was built on Ake, Stones, Diaz, Akanji. Like that's what it was until we got to Madrid and then Walker turned up. Like Walker didn't start the Champions League final. Like that's how good it was with the four centre backs. So yeah, I'm cool with that. But obviously if we're talking in a world here where we need to refresh and Walker's out, then yeah, Kuto or Kuto or Frimpong. I personally prefer Frimpong because I think having that experience that he's just had with Leverkusen, like mentality wise, that's got to be a massive boost for him, as well as obviously his physicality and stuff like that.
And
as well.
homegrown.
Yeah, and of course, yeah, and he's homegrown. So I think
Would Jan Kuto be homegrown or not? Because we've owned him for a few years, isn't it? But he's never.
I think he has to.
No,
I
he
think
has
he has
to
to
be
have
playing.
played. Yeah, he has to have played in England. If Football Manager has taught me anything, it's that it has to have been done. It has to be in the country rather than you can't farm him out on loan to Spain and just still get the kudos for it. Unfortunately,
yes, but probably the correct decision, the correct rule.
Yeah.
All right, and lads, anything else you guys want to speak about, or anything else in the chat? You guys want us to touch on anything else before we wrap up? Anything you guys want to speak about?
See you at Wembley.
Yeah,
See you at Wembley.
Is it after the Premier League ends?
No, it's on the 25th. Yeah, so the week after, and then the week after.
They're going to change it, aren't they? That's one of the changes that's coming with the FA Cup. Is that it's going to be held the weekend before the final Premier League game, which is so stupid.
So shit.
It's like the FA Cup sort of being the thing that wraps up the English calendar is mint, but
and they're going to drop the winter break as well due to that. So they're dropping the winter break.
That's even worse.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone. How are teams going to go over to Abu Dhabi and have a hot weather training camp?
Oh, sad times, man. They can't go to Abu Dhabi and have a Arsenal season in the mud, innit? That's basically where they fixed themselves up when they went to Dubai. So yeah. I don't think there's anything else in the chat. I think everyone's pretty much chill. All right, I'm buzzing. Big up to everyone. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Not sure what's happening tomorrow, chat, to be honest with you, because I don't know what I'm doing. I might have a day off. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you smash a like. Make sure you subscribed. What's got come up now then? We got Thursday Brighton. That's going to be an interesting game. They were shit against Arsenal. So if they play well against us, I'm going to be fuming. I'm going to be fuming.
They will. They will.
And CISO 40-yard screamer incoming. We all know it.
We'll be there.
We will be there.
Big up to everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Who's live that we could potentially look at redirecting to? Let's have a look. Johnny Minerals is live. I'll send you Johnny Minerals. He's doing a review of today's game as well, actually. So I did a preview with him yesterday. So I'll send you to him. Build up to Si coming on, as always. Guy looks knackered. Build up to Joe. Build up to you. Enjoy the rest of your night, guys. And I'll see you, maybe not tomorrow. If not, I'll see you Monday. See you later.